everyone. All right, welcome back to Jill and her Jacks. I've been getting some people at the gym asking, so when are you going to tell us your first story? So I'm figured I'd just tell a quick story here before I plug into work. Um, and I want to talk to you about one of my funny Jacks. And I guess before I get into the detail, and this is kind of a disclaimer or preface for every Jack, or most Jacks anyway, that I want to talk about, would be that um, and I think part of me worries a little bit about some of these guys maybe seeing these videos and then realizing I'm talking about them. And my point is not to try to shame anybody. I'm not trying to humiliate anybody. Unless you're one of the jackasses, then maybe you deserve it. But outside of that, I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. I'm a big believer that there is a but for every seat. That what floats my boat, what makes my world go round, is different than what floats the boat and makes the world go round of my girlfriends and other women. And so what doesn't work for me could just be somebody else's, and I'm sure is somebody else's dream come true. So some of these guys, I'm sure, are just dream boats to other people, but this is my journey and these are the experiences I'm having, and what I'm learning, is what I like and what I don't like, and what I think is a little crazy and what I think is not so crazy. And so I just want to say that up front, that if you happen to be one of these jacks and you come across this video, I don't mean any disrespect. It didn't work for me. So the first Jack I want to talk about today is Ghostbuster Jack, I guess is what I would call him. So one of the things that I had put into one of my dating profiles, I just mentioned it very briefly, is that I'm a little bit intrigued by the idea of aliens. And I mentioned it, that I've watched some of the Ancient Aliens show on TV. I think it's intriguing. I think the idea of aliens is intriguing, and that's pretty much it. I don't hunt aliens. I do think the same thing is true of ghosts. I think the idea of ghosts, very interesting, but I don't hunt ghosts. I'm not looking for a ghost hunter. So anyway, I go out for drinks with this guy, and quite frankly, I kind of knew from the minute I sat down with him, it probably just the vibe wasn't the right vibe for me. That's probably a different video. But all I know is that during the conversation, we started talking about why he moved in the last couple of years from one home to another. And he very seriously shared with me that he moved because he was starting to have certain behaviors in his old home that he didn't like. Now that's cool. Like the vibe there for him was one where he just felt unmotivated, and he was kind of doing a lot of drinking. He was coming home from work and he would just drink, and then he'd go to bed and he'd rinse repeat the next day, and just wasn't feeling very motivated in his life. And so he was telling me about this, which so far so good. Okay, people have experiences, but his point was, I did some research, he told me, and I learned that the guy that lived in that house before me had the exact same experience. He lost all motivation. He just started heavy drinking at night, and it's because this house is haunted. I was like, wow, okay. So I'm still open to listening to his haunted house story. So he went on and he told me this house is definitely haunted. And he then told me about the fact that at one point he was doing some housework, like some sort of renovations, and there were a couple of different things that happened. In one particular case, he had a wrench or some tool, and he was doing something with it, and then he put it down. He did something else, came to get it, and it was gone. It was gone. And it was the ghost that took his wrench or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay. So then he went on and he was telling me about a picture he took after some renovations of the outside of the place. And then he showed it to a friend, and a friend said, oh my gosh, that's a great picture. Great job on your renovations. But who is that up in that upstairs window? And he looked, and there was a figure in the upstairs window. So, okay. Then he went on to tell me that, in fact, he is part of a local ghost hunting team. And they hunt ghosts on a regular basis, I guess. And, and anyway, then he went on to tell me that he finally moved from this place, found another place, and that it had such a better energy. And when he left that old place, he said to the ghost, he said, "You will not win. You're not going to win," he said to the house, as like the last thing he said, his parting words. "You're not going to win. You're not going to win." So already I'm just sitting here thinking, like, when is this night going to be over? But we're not even to like the part where I thought it was even the funniest. Basically, we went from all of that to him then moving into a new place. But then he went on and he told me that his ex-girlfriend, her house was also haunted. And so he basically did like an exorcism of the house. And so he was telling me all about how, the house didn't have very good energy, and it was definitely haunted. And so he, at this point, was telling me how he went to her place. He brought sage. And I think the funniest part about this was that he wasn't even educating me on how to be a ghostbuster. It wasn't like, "Oh, Jill, by the way, when you want to bust ghosts, this is what you do." He talked about it like I would know, and like basically anybody should know this. But I don't know how to bust ghosts. I've not done it. He basically said to me, "I went to her house and I brought the sage." Again, kind of assuming that I know this. "I brought the sage and I did the chant." Thinking, a chant, there's a chant. And so he's like, "Well, I started in the basement. She came with me. We were in the corner over by the electrical panel. I got out the sage and I started doing the chant." And he said that he started going through the basement right there, and almost immediately a garbage bag full of electronic toys, because they had moved in, I guess pretty recently or something. The whole bag of electronic toys, as he's doing the chant, they all simultaneously lit up inside of that bag. They just all lit up, and he was like, "Oh my God!" And he knew right then and there that he was in the right place, that he was where the spirits were, and that he was exercising them in that moment that they were reacting. And I seriously, you guys, I sat there with this guy, and I couldn't stop from laughing, and I felt horrible because I did not want to laugh in his face, but I just felt like that vibe when you're in church and you're not supposed to laugh, so it makes you want to laugh even more. I am sitting there looking at this guy, and he's talking, and I was holding back a smirk and holding back a chuckle, and I mean, a couple times I couldn't help it, and I kind of laughed, and I was like, "Wow, that's interesting." And anyway, so this was Ghostbuster Jack. And again, I'm certain, a really nice guy. And if he could hook up with somebody else that believes in the ghosts and the exorcisms, and I mean, again, I'm fascinated by ghosts. I actually think there could be ghosts, but this was just a very interesting experience. So, I did not see that guy ever again. We said goodbye. And that was Ghostbuster Jack. So hope you enjoyed this story. I'm sure I'll be back soon with more. Talk to you later.